Yo YouTube, what's going on? So in today's video, we're going to be talking about how to save $10,000. Listen, if you're like me, being able to save money so that you can use it on a pinch is extremely important. You know, if you want to sit back and use it for an emergency fund, use it for an upcoming trip, use it for things that you know that you need, well, being able to consistently save $5,000 to $10,000 consistently every single year will help you to build your wealth and also to build some of those things I know and we all know that we need to have. All right, so the idea of being able to save $10,000 is the right mindset. And in today's video, we're going to talk about some strategies and some tips that I know that you all need to do in order for you to be able to save $10,000. If you guys don't know, my name is Angikindslows Senatus. I'm a father, principal, and a husband. And on this channel, I only focus on topics revolving around debt, finances, and strategies that you can use to impact your family and move them into the future. If you like topics like that, please make sure to hit that like button, turn on notifications, and don't forget to subscribe. All right, everybody, let's get into this. One of the first things that I think every single person needs to do is before you do anything, you need to make a decision and save before you spend. Priority number one. And what that means essentially is that if you're going to go through the process of saving, then you need to plan out how much you need to save for the next 12 months in order for you to reach your goal. So one of the first things that you have to do is save before you spend. So let's do a breakdown. All right. So if you know for a fact that you can potentially save $1,000 a month, right? Not accounting for emergencies and things of that nature, you can save $1,000 a month. Well, what that means is if you get a paycheck, then you need to set aside $500 every 2 weeks, or depending on the frequency of your paychecks, in order for you to be able to save the money that you need to actually save. One of the first things that you have to do when you're going to go through this process is you need to make a decision that you're going to commit to this goal. Listen, at the end of the day, we all understand and know that, you know, in order for you to do anything in life, you have to make a decision and you need to hunker down and commit to it. One of the things that kind of helps me to be able to do that is, one, I make a decision to listen to topics around my goal every single day, right? The next thing that I do is I start writing it down. I make a decision every single day to kind of go through a confession-based approach where every morning I sit back and an alarm goes off, and then in that alarm, I will sit back and an announcement will come on my phone saying exactly the goals that I want to accomplish. You know, so basically identify lose 10 pounds, save $500,000, whatever the number is. $500,000 in a year would be amazing, but you get the gist. You know, you want to get to a point where you are making a decision, where you're committing to your goal. And one way to do that is to see it every single day, commit to it, hear it, say it, and speak it. You got to get to a point where you're doing those things consistently in order for you to be able to commit to something that is considerably hard, especially like something like saving money, which will benefit you and benefit your family for the future. So one of the first things that I like to do is create mini goals by breaking up my goal into subparts. And then what I do is I celebrate the actual win and success. And I think that's extremely important when you're going to go through something like saving $10,000, which for some people is extremely difficult. Like, let's get right into this. The average American is unable to sit back and afford a $1,000 emergency without going into their credit. And that's facts, right? Well, to be able to save $10,000 and have that on the side is difficult for a lot of people. Right? So one of the first things you got to do is you got to commit to a point where you're breaking down these goals and you're making them small and bite-sized, and then you have to celebrate. You gotta celebrate your wins once you reach your goal. And something that kind of helps me, which goes right into our next tip, is get a partner. Get someone who you know you can partner with, who can actually help you to be able to connect and reach this goal. Now listen, at the end of the day, one of the things that I think you have to do when you go through this process of potentially saving some money is you have to budget. You got to make a decision that you're going to commit to a budget. Now, a budget is basically an opportunity for you to write down all of your expenses and then your take-home income, and then you begin the process of deducting your expenses from your income. Well, something that I had to do was I use a zero-based budget. I have a video that I put up here where basically at the end of the day, my budget ends at zero, or basically all the money that I have is going to a location. It's named for a location, which goes right back to point number one, where basically what you're doing is you are setting aside you know for a fact that you need to save this amount, so you automatically deduct that from your budget, and you know that money is going into a separate account. Which then goes right into my next point. You want to create an opportunity where you create a separate account where that money is going and you can actually see it. Sometimes when people, psychologically, when you begin the process of seeing your money going into a location, then you may have a tendency to want to spend it. Well, what I recommend is that you don't do that. Instead, what you do is you go through a situation where you open a separate account. It's easy for you to get an online banking account. You can sign up for it in under 30 minutes. And what you then do is you begin the process of transferring money directly into that account, and that makes the process easier. So after you set a budget, you then go through the process of creating a separate account where you'll put those savings into that account. Another thing that's also extremely important is that you want to automate it. And what I mean by automate it is, what I do is I automatically know that every single 2 weeks this amount of money is going to come from my account and go to this location. That's just what I do. It becomes kind of a bill that I know that I need to pay. You know, and if you're familiar with like The Richest Man in Babylon, you basically want to get to a point where a tenth of your income is yours to keep. I love that book. I listened to that book and I was just like, woo, changed my entire perspective on life in terms of, you know, making sure that you're not investing money in things that you don't know, not investing with people that don't really know what they're doing, you know, stuff like that, how to not lose money. And one of the biggest principles within the book is that you want to save a tenth. A tenth of what you earn is yours to keep. Now, one of the most consistent things that you're just going to have to do, and one of the things that I had to do, is I had to find a side hustle. And you got to find a side hustle that you feel like you can do, that will allow you to make, you know, an extra $100 to $200 a week without actually burning out. All right. And, you know, if you have a family, if you have a spouse, significant other, then you have to make sure that, you know, whatever you're choosing to do is balanced and doesn't necessarily impact your financial situation. And to kind of go back to one of the most critical points that I think every single person needs to remember is you need to celebrate your milestones. You need to celebrate when you have an achievement. Maybe $10,000 this year is difficult, but what if you create a situation where you know that at the end of the year you're saving $5,000, and then the next year you increase it to $6,000? What you can begin to start process of doing is you create mini goals, mini milestones, you celebrate those successes, and then you continue to build upon your success. Also, don't let anybody tell you otherwise. There are millionaires who go broke. There are lottery winners who choose to spend all their money and they go right back to where they're at in a much worse condition. All right. So it's not always about the money that you make, even though that's important. You know, don't let somebody sit back and tell you otherwise. What I'm telling you is that when you have money, you have to learn how to use that money, and building the right habits now will probably build you into the future. All right. All right, y'all. As always, stay hungry, stay motivated, stay focused, go and get it.